Image and voice will be recorded. Meeting called to order at 6:04. It's super weird having people. It's awesome to have enthusiastic cheering. That's a little weird. And so minutes?
Yes.
Question mark.
Yep. So minutes from last week are up.
Okay.
And then also the minutes from the two prior
Lisa
meetings
sent.
as well.
Awesome. Yep. So we should. I need a motion to approve all three sets.
Motion to approve those.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have, that's October, November, and then January. Good job, us.
Yep.
Assabet Regional Consortium update.
Next meeting is March 11th. There is a spring forum, June 12th, in Devens again. That's a Thursday. It is in the morning, 9:30 to noon. And I would assume we could bring everyone if we wanted. I have an email I can forward around everyone that has an RSVP attachment.
Okay.
If you so choose. And I will go this year.
I
couldn't make the last one. So. What else? Let's see. Oh, the Highland Ridge question. Spofford Road.
Yes.
Did you see those emails? Any
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Lisa's suggestion, I met with her on
Yeah.
Saturday to prepare for this. She said we just need to keep an eye on it and just and see. I mean, the deed restriction exists. Mm-hmm. It should on the go through will, go through whatever the
Probate.
will is, the probate, all of those things, and then we see where we are. I mean, I guess it's mostly just a thing to be kept. I think it was mostly just a thing to keep eyes on.
I just wonder how you would keep tabs on that. Like,
Once it goes through probate, right, the deed would be recorded under a new owner, correct? Right?
Yes.
Well, and also, related to that, the Metro West Collaborative Development actually sent surveys to 40B homeowners, asking them to certify. So we will know if a form gets returned
Okay, good.
for that
Okay.
for that unit.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may totally ask a question.
What does happen to the 40B when an owner dies?
So it depends. So if the individual qualifies, there's a process for them to take it on. If not, it has to be sold. There's a
It has
time
to be
limit
sold.
for that. That is my understanding. Probably anyone who's watching this later can yell about the fact I got it wrong, but that is my in the back
So
of my
that-
brain
That seems
understanding.
like common sense.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it makes sense. I was just wondering, like, that's. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to my house when I go. I mean, I'm not going to care.
That's a while. That's a while.
I understand. But it's
Yeah.
a thought.
Yeah,
so-
it is
you know
a
what?
thought.
That's a
So
really good question.
Like what will happen? So I think, and I guess it depends on what it says in their deed restriction, right?
Well, the deed restriction is just that it maintain affordability,
Yeah.
and then the rules about
Like, if I can't just give the house to someone,
right.
Right.
They have to qualify,
Right. Yeah.
and so
and my people don't qualify. So,
That seems a little weird
Yeah.
because it's an ownership right,
Yeah.
yet it's deed restricted. But how do you pass along your ownership rights
I will
if
call
the person doesn't qualify? So it kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
seems mutually exclusive potentially, but
And who would I call to ask that question?
Your monitoring agent of the
Yeah.
property.
Metro.
I know.
Well,
So
which of course is the town of Berlin and the Metro West, right?
Right.
Collaborative development. So
Yeah.
don't call the town.
Yeah.
We call
I'm
it.
gonna ask
this
that.
Is the
But
answer.
then
at the
we should totally have that
ARC
out as a
meeting.
question. Yeah.
so
And it may also be totally searchable on the internet, because certainly
true, but we
Right.
have
With
the
the-
resources, so I'm
we
thinking
can just
don't
ask, and there may be
AI.
stuff.
I'm gonna
Don't ask AI. That's a
yeah, I know.
yeah.
So anyway, that and then on that. I looked into a little bit of, this is just kind of a side note thing, I don't want to take forever on it, but there was the HOPE grant that I had heard of at the ARC meeting. I looked into that a little bit, and that has to do with, it's a Mass Gov grant program, the Housing Choice Communities, which Berlin is one, although we are in its expiring year, and I think it is based on census. There's nothing we do to be part of that housing choice. It's
Okay.
about how much building we have and growth, et cetera. It's different things. We used it to pave this parking lot in 2020. We got $100,000 from it,
Wow.
which paved this parking lot. And we're kind of in a subset of that. It's called Rural Development Fund. And it's interesting. I don't know exactly what you need to do to qualify, but if we had a project that we wanted to work on, or it just seems interesting.
Do
a
we
source.
know how restricted it is? In terms of like, is there a
can
chunk of
do-
money set aside for housing or housing oriented things?
It's kind of open to growth of housing in Massachusetts. So it could be zoning, it could be, there's a lot of room
Potentially,
for projects. And I
could
don't
we
know.
use it to support, like on the assumption we get a property to develop as an affordable unit, could we use that money towards, installing a septic system or doing the
I think
remediation
so.
work on a
I
foundation
think
or something
it will.
like that?
It can be used to. It can be used to rehab underutilized buildings. So you
Cool.
could call it an underutilized property,
It is.
and so it got me thinking a little of, if we come across some projects that might be something we could apply to.
And we're in our last year or it's in its last
But
year?
I think isn't the census renewing or something this year? I think it might
The
be
census?
based on.
Isn't that 2030?
Yeah. Every 10 years.
It says expiration year. This is just what was online.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
expiration year 2025. So and we've been in it since 2020, and we used it in 2020 for this parking lot. So I mean, it's got a whole bunch of subcategories that are kind of cool. I love the underutilized
Like if there's
type project to like take something off tax title and make it.
right.
And if it has anything to do with housing, I'm sure they're all over it, because the zoning that they talk about is to encourage growth of housing in Massachusetts. So anyway, that was just my first look at it.
Is that
and
ask
I don't-
Kristen about it?
I was
maybe?
thinking, and that was my second, like, if they pave the parking lot here, I'll find out who
Yeah.
worked on that maybe. And
Maybe there's a limit. I don't know if we can dip again.
there were all kinds of values. It will tell you by
Would you?
town who's gotten what. There were $350,000. This was $100,000. Some people got $85,000. So I think it depends on your project, and it depends maybe on need or growth rate, or I don't know the exact determinants, but it seemed like, I don't know, interesting.
Okay.
And Acton, or maybe Boxborough, was using it to fix up housing that was deteriorating, like kind of what
Like
we've been
like
trying to figure
individual
out how to
homeowners?
do.
S-
Yes.
Stuff using it. Okay.
So that was one thing. He had named it, but I didn't see quite how that's specified, and I didn't
Right.
investigate his particular cause in it. But so I'm gonna keep looking at that.
Okay.
I just
That seems
if
like a
anybody
great
hears
thing.
anything more about it,
okay.
let me know, because I like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Free
It
money.
did say a competitive grant program, so I don't think it's just like, you put it in, you get it. Like,
Right, you actually
they,
have to
there are
potentially do some work.
definitely criterion
Yep.
that have to be met. And then I guess my other question was, did we approve that SHI list? Did anybody look at that Lisa had sent around?
So
It looked good to me.
It looked goodish, yeah.
Uh,
I don't know that we don't,
do we?
approve it per se.
The only question still on that is Northbrook Village, the perpetuity.
Right,
So-
and so they've,
Because that's a little time sensitive.
2028.
Yeah.
My understanding
Yes.
is, like, as we approach, their board or whatever has to request that they be converted to in perpetuity. I felt like Lisa was
Okay.
talking to people about that,
I
but
just
that's
don't
a,
wanna
no,
forget
that's, no,
about
no,
that
we don't,
one.
we definitely
Yeah.
don't wanna forget about them.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. Hang on, I'd like,
That's all me.
from this, and this, like, different portions in the agenda, so, right, so
Yeah.
alright, so let me make a note here.
And I'm hearing more scuttle about neighbors on the Legion Hall.
Oh, really?
So, Lisa had a long conversation
Okay.
with one of the neighbors. Super exciting to, like, actually talk to a person,
Yeah.
right, as opposed to random rumors and stuff. His primary concern is presented as the historic nature of the building, and wanting to preserve that. So, conveniently enough, on Thursday, March 20th at 10 a.m., Carolyn Reed from Habitat is going to be presenting to the Historical Commission about a project they did in Acton on a building that was actually a historic listed property, that they did a conversion on and obviously maintained that status. So they actually have significant experience at a higher level than we would need for this project. So we need somebody to attend that meeting. I didn't know if anybody's
will.
available. Right, it's a Thursday
can do
morning at
that.
10 o'clock.
I can do that.
Okay, awesome. We'll connect you and Carolyn, just so we don't leave her hanging out there, like, all by herself. It should be super interesting. I'm trying to arrange my schedule so I can
Good.
be there, because I really want to hear
Yeah.
about what they did. But the fact they have experience in that sort of thing, and that potentially there's a model out there for.
So is that building officially historic at this point?
It is not listed as a historic building with the state. My understanding is nothing in town is actually listed. I assume there are costs and restrictions associated with that, and the Historic Commission has made a choice about not going that direction, but I don't actually have any facts about that.
So what weight do we have in that vein for, I'll find out at this meeting, but.
Well, we don't, we know they are interested in, like, preserving the envelope. Like, everyone is very, like, that envelope is just so perfect, right? It looks so good, but, maintaining the stone foundation and the integrity of the looks, the exterior appearance,
mm-hmm.
all of those pieces. So, when, on the assumption, right, the transfer of the property passes town meeting in May, when we write the RFP for development, we can request that the proposal state specifically,
Okay.
How
So the
they will
RFP
maintain. So the
controls all of
RFP
that.
can control all of
Okay.
that. So we can
So we don't need to, like, work within the historical commission. We'll work with them.
correct,
Naturally.
correct, which is
However,
why this meeting is
it's
super
not their authority. It would be down to that RFP to be written very carefully.
Correct, on the assumption we have control over the property, and then writing that RFP for the development will be
That's a
able to-
good question. Would we have control of that property, or?
Well, at town meeting,
Yeah.
right, if the select board is given authority to transfer that property to us
Is that
for
what,
the
The
purpose of
chain is going to
affordable
be?
housing,
Mhm.
that's what
so it
that's
comes
what it's being
into
written for.
our,
So once it's labeled as
Choice.
affordable housing,
Yeah.
then it becomes part of our purview.
okay,
And then we can work, you certainly, historical obviously is being involved
Mhm.
by the fact they're talking to Carolyn now. And so it would be great to be at that
Nice.
meeting. Yeah.
okay.
Lisa will not be here for that. So, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really interesting piece.
Let's see. So we've talked about we talked about the neighbor. Talked about Spofford Road. Historical commission. So
Is it one neighbor that you know?
one neighbor, like Lisa had a conversation with one neighbor
Yeah.
who we know has been following
Mhm.
the progress of this through our meetings and
Okay.
and stuff, and you're paying attention, right, in a real way. So it would be ideal if they like the historic plans, or the ideas for conserving the historic pieces of the parcel, right? Ideally, right? We want them on board. We want everybody on board. Don't know if that's possible, but it's great that we're actually having a conversation about it.
Definitely.
So that's it, and we actually sort of know what's in their head as opposed to, making stuff up. So there's that. Down payment. So the projects, the down payment program. We got a note back from the town's legal team. They want to have a meeting about the contract. They had comments that were not the same as my comments.
They want to meet with us or want to meet with
So
everyone?
they
Yeah.
want to meet with us first
Okay.
to hash out, and it may just be, who knows?
Mhm.
We just know they want to meet with us before we go back to
Yeah.
Metro West. Do either of you all remember when we talked about Metro West being interested in helping us with this program? There was another town who they talked about also working with at the same time. I couldn't find it in my notes.
I don't remember what they said. I thought Lisa had said Westboro,
I have Westboro in my head.
but that was our discussion last time.
Right.
And-
And so
And that sounded off to me, but I couldn't correct it. Do you know what I mean?
right,
Like,
yeah.
that didn't seem like Westboro would be that town for some
There is
reason.
that, right?
I don't know.
Right. So the lawyers did not. I have some concerns about the way Metro West seems to be going about this. And obviously we've had good luck with other interactions with them and other programs with them, and maybe it's just the getting off the ground part is a little rough. But I was thinking about, if it is, I was going to reach out to Westboro, hoping it was Westboro, because that's what I have in my head as well,
Okay.
just to see what their experience
Yeah.
is, and potentially, like, if they already have a contract in place or something,
Mhm.
just to kind of get a bigger feel of the lay of the land.
What other choices are there? I think I
Well-
would want to compare
Right.
before I committed.
Yeah.
Regardless, especially with our startup, I would want to have like an idea of actually what they're supposed to do
there is that.
versus what they are promising or
Lisa has reached out to the Worcester Regional Housing
Okay.
Worcester Regional Housing Community Resources, I believe that's what their acronym stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I know that there's
WHC.
well, I don't remember. I know that there is the place that I went to take my first time VIRE class that I was required to take
Mhm.
for the 40B program.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that they would be able to tell you a load of stuff about who
Yeah.
is.
Right. And
Doing
any of
what?
these housing resource places are
'Cause
probably
they're
gonna know that. Yeah.
and
What
they're-
about RCAP? Is that similar? RCAP,
and they've all changed names.
Right, and they've all changed names.
I
is
know they deal with rental. I think they're RCAP's been around quite a while. I deal with RCAP for rental.
That, oh, okay.
Let me just call
Is it
them.
Rural Community Assistance Partnership? Is that what it stands for?
Probably.
That's it. Because
Yeah.
if, I mean, because if they are in this business or know, Worcester Regional Housing, their reach is Worcester County, not just Worcester City.
Right.
So we would qualify potentially
Right.
for working with them. So we do have some other options if this doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
I at least think we should investigate them versus just sign this contract, which I thought was kind of bizarre.
The contract was not good.
Uh-uh.
And then the fact that
The-
legal has concerns about it.
There were like no restraints. It was very open-ended, and the $1,000 per application. I'd like to know what is constituted to be an application,
Exactly.
like a vetted application, or
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
okay.
So yeah,
all
I think we're on the same page
Okay.
about this.
I just feel rushed about that.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that.
Does anyone else want to be part of the meeting with legal?
I mean,
Should we make it part of like our, I don't know if it
could they
should be-
attend our meeting,
Right.
I'll ask,
and then that way
and that way,
it can be all part of public meeting,
do
or
we
should
want
it be
legal?
part of,
I don't know if
No.
I don't know if writing contracts, and I don't know if legal bills if it's an extra billing for being after hours.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, so we'll keep you in the loop.
Yeah.
Although if all of us are there, I think it becomes a public meeting, right?
Yeah, but
if
if
more
it's
if
during
more
the
than two of
day,
us are
then-
there, but well,
What's it?
as we see, all of the meetings are now happening during the
I
day.
know.
So I
Yeah.
guess, so we'll
I would be
look at
interested.
it with the idea of probably needing to make it a public meeting if there are likely to be three of us there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we're filled in after, and if we're all thinking that we're going to look other places anyway, then no, I don't think we all need to be part of this initial meeting to get comments. I'm sure the comments will be written, right, from the lawyers, mostly. Hopefully.
I mean, I'm hoping
Annotated
this
somehow?
I'm hoping this is a. I don't have any idea. When they say they have concerns, what does that even mean? I'm used to getting red lines back from lawyers,
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
And I'm just like, and of course it was, I mean, we didn't send them, right, the original document. We sent a worked up, our own marked,
Yeah.
like we took a regular copy,
I
not
actually
the marked
think it
up
has
copy.
a long way to go, so I
yeah.
can take feedback from anybody who goes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Because I think it'd be more helpful to talk to other communities or
And maybe get another
people
contract
that
if there's
yes.
something if there's another contract
yeah.
out there.
So
Right, because there's certainly no point in paying our lawyers
no,
to rebuild something that may exist.
I think it's premature
Yeah.
until we come to something more solid. Because I don't think we're in any hurry to do it.
I mean, it would be nice to, I was thinking it'd be great to have something in place by the end of the year, but it's also, it sort of feels like the contract feels like to me to actually be the biggest part of it.
I agree.
And so once that's solid, I mean, we put up a website. right? And I mean, start like by getting up the website and then doing the
Yeah, I
advertising
don't
and
want to
stuff
rush
and
the
the
important
outreach.
part.
So like getting this,
And
making sure we're getting our
I
money's
also
worth.
feel like the housing market's kind of weird right now, so
Housing market is,
you know, we have this
everything's
huge gap we're trying
weird.
to fill with this program, and it's still reaching very far at this. So I think we have time.
Yeah.
I think we have time to like really hammer it out
Okay.
to be what we need.
That's the down payment program. We, I was supposed to write up an MOU sort of for us working with the CPA. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I'll try and have that for next month.
Yeah. I don't think that's a big rush either.
No, yeah, I mean, I feel like Tim did ask for it Tim started that conversation a couple months ago, and
I
just,
kind of I think a little differently than Tim on that too.
I think we all,
Okay.
I'm maybe closer to Tim than to Lisa, but I don't think it's bad to have a document that we can refer back to, and as these groups turn over, we have that sort of, no, this is what our relationship is. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's super weird, right? They give us, it's our money in a way that no other board, like we exist, right, to manage this particular pool of money, and everybody else is submitting grant applications to the CPA, right, and they're kind of managing
Mm-hmm.
that dispersal, but that doesn't absolve us of the responsibility of explaining what we're doing with it, and being clear and having a formal system of reporting, right? So, and it may sort of clear itself up, the sort of annual report, the big report for the annual, like the town meeting, the big write up there may actually help clarify.
Because that is something in the ARC meetings that the other towns are doing, is that's what they're starting to do, is just take their housing money into
As a-
their own pool.
Yeah.
Into their own bucket. And I think it's designed to work that way.
Yeah.
If you read, the trust,
Yeah.
whatever the thing is called.
Yeah.
As long as we're following the housing production plan, which is written by
Written by the chair of the CPA.
yeah. So I mean, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guidelines are there.
Yeah, well, exactly, and just, although we know people don't read, right? I mean, just in general,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Well, it's lengthy.
it is lengthy, and that committee is looking at other things other than housing. So if
Yes.
people coming from the rec committee or coming from historic they know we're over here, but they don't understand.
Yeah.
So helping them help us to help the housing ladder. We can make T-shirts. It'll be great. So yeah, that's.
But I do
that's
think,
on my
though, in that, I think part of what Tim was saying is that we still need to go to them with our projects for approval, and then money would be dispersed or recommended, and I don't see that
No,
as
I don't.
streamlined.
I don't. No, I don't. I don't think that's the right process. I think they do appreciate my reporting out
Mhm.
from this meeting, right, and talking about where we are on projects
Exactly.
like the down payment. I mean, currently, right, we've been allocated money for the down payment
Mhm.
assistant plan,
Yep.
and then we will be potentially allocated a property, and we do have money that can be used to support the development of that. So.
Just a thought.
Yes.
I won't keep sidetracking, maybe, but
We got another
Schofield
half an hour.
Road is that something just food for thought that we would step in and buy, perhaps, given a strange scenario, given the fact that we do, I believe, have the money. I looked up. I think the property sold or was bought originally for like $235. But anyway, so I mean, we have coffers. I'm just thinking if that's something, given strange circumstances, that might behoove us.
Like, to prevent it from going to auction, if the property has to be sold, and it goes to, and of course, which is of course a much bigger conversation, because the last thing we actually want is.
I'm sorry. We are
property.
landlords. We own Boundless Adventures. We are landlord to an obstacle course. I've heard this. I'm not going to keep taking this argument. No. We can manage a couple of properties that are not meant to be long-term in order to keep them.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Not meant to be long term.
In order to think about how long properties really stay on the market here. It would not be long-term.
I mean, it would be actually be
Even
super interesting.
under an affordable heading, but what we could do is preserve that length of time enough to qualify the right person for, or anyone for it under our umbrella.
What's
So
interesting.
the fact that we don't want to own property, I'm sorry. The fact that we don't want to be landlords, I'm sorry. You know, we do it, and we do it in a weird way anyway.
How do we pay for it?
Don't we have a pretty big bucket going?
Well, sure, but I don't think we're allowed to pay like they're that's a part of a condominium association, I think, right?
Okay.
And so like I don't think we can pay condo fees out of,
If we own it, then that's part of ownership.
but owning property is not part of what's allowable under CPA funds.
I'm not sure about that. I believe we can procure, the trust can procure funds. Maybe that's something from the,
I mean,
the
we
housing
do have
partnership.
we have other money.
We have other money. We have housing partnership money, which nobody's been able to figure out how to spend, which I wanted to spend on preserving townies who, you know, maybe now can't keep up their houses, etc., which is what I was looking into that HOPE grant for, too. But, I mean, there is other money. It's not just CPA money, per se, I don't believe.
So we will, which is interesting because there is another property. There are other properties that are potentially looming near foreclosure that we are aware of,
Mm-hmm.
right? We should decide if that's within our role, like to go in. I mean, the problem is like we don't want to take it away. If it goes to auction, it auctions with the deed restriction on it, unless the bank has requested the town, like they can petition the town to remove it or whatever, which I don't think we do. But we don't want to compete in an auction against people who qualify. And I don't know that we have any way. In any case, we are so off topic, but that's a very, I don't know that you've ever said that out loud. I've seen you thinking it sometimes, I think, but, but that's figuring out what the boundaries are on that could be pretty interesting, and sort of what our options are if something should go to auction.
I mean, that's part of us being nimble, is to be
Well,
able to
right.
preserve
Is
the
to
stock
preserve the stock
could
that
be
exists.
marketing. Your easiest customer is the one that you have to keep.
But if it's affordable housing and it's deed restricted, I don't think anybody else can own it, like.
You
right?
have to be, you have, there's a window once you purchase it. We saw this with, actually that's not necessarily true. Trying to remember the auction, certainly individuals have to demonstrate that they meet the criteria in order to be authorized to bid. But I don't know what sort of standing we
Okay.
would have as not an individual in that case.
I think that's
This goes
more
back to
of an interest, right?
to whoever's asking questions about 40B and what happens if a 40B owner dies.
I'm
This is
I'm
also
trying to,
potentially
like, Chapa says that they have it somewhere, but I can't find
you
it.
can't find it on your phone in the middle of a
Okay,
meeting.
right.
Yeah.
So,
So, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
just
got
sit
that.
in my little spot here.
No, I think it's that is literally potentially preserving housing. What I'm interested in is that, like, the not really 40Bs right, there's a gap in the ladder, right, between 40B restricted affordable housing and then a market rate house that isn't $600,000, right?
Yes,
You
there's
know,
a huge gap.
That there's a really big gap there, and figuring out, it feels like to me, purchasing properties, right, or a property goes on the market that might be nice for them. Hey, can I help you find a meeting?
Is this where the rail trail thing is?
They're going to be downstairs in 114.
114?
Yeah, the room you vote in.
Okay.
Finally.
Our first audience.
I know, really. So
No,
I got
come in,
extra people.
please.
I don't know what I was saying. Was it important?
The gap.
The gap.
Oh, the gap, right? And if we could do something like a property that we know, like a developer might be interested in putting a McMansion on, right? Getting in and pulling that out of development and instead using that as a seed for, a
Yeah.
couple of smaller houses or something, at, $400,000, which is still not affordable, but it helps fill that gap in town, right?
Would we
So.
get credit for that? Like,
Not on the 40B rolls,
Right, yeah.
right? But there are other types of credit.
Mm.
Right. I mean, and of course, our numbers are good,
right.
right? At the moment, obviously, increasing the housing stock at all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
shifts that. So we
It's a
have to be,
ratio.
but if we could do, I don't know, something that be one McMansion, instead do 4 cottage units, one that's a proper 40B deed restricted,
Yeah.
but the other's still only,
Right.
only $350,000, right?
It won't stay that way.
That was just gonna say.
It
that's,
won't.
That's
Yeah.
well, I don't know.
So you'd have to
Sizeflation,
And
that's
you'd
all
have
that
to
is.
restrict it. Like,
Yeah.
you'd have to
And
restrict
that's
them
just
from
gonna
adding on.
Add
Could we-
density. It's weird because you're trying to get away from McMansion urban sprawl. However, you're just adding density because the market will not sustain that. So you will have
Well,
those
that's our
houses
job.
going for $650 very
Even-
quickly.
Even if they're 1,500 square feet?
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
I've been watching
Absolutely.
them, yeah.
I'm
I've-
sorry.
Can we deed restrict them? Like
Make.
without, outside of the outside.
I guess if
of
we build them.
or
You know what I mean?
if we buy them.
But
Or
if
do,
we
like,
buy them.
workforce
Is-
housing. I
Some
don't know.
something that
I
sort
don't
of.
know.
Right, because
Is
workforce
there-
housing would be restricted.
So potentially, for that meets the firefighter EMT teacher salary band.
Kind of, or it can be higher.
It can be
So
higher.
it can be like 120% of AMI.
rather
So you can
than
go over
than the
the like
80 to
Yep.
100.
Yeah.
So who manages that?
I
Keeps
think-
it out of that market?
Right, I think it would be the same thing as like a 40.
It's just a different type of deed restriction. Is that
Yeah. Yep. So I think, yeah, like it's just called workforce housing, and so I don't know who. They do it a lot in Nantucket
Okay.
because.
Well, that makes sense.
Because no one can. No
Yeah,
one's making
no one.
80%. Like so there's still homes that are going for like $900,000 and are called workforce housing, and in a similar project. So like the company that I work with, they do there'll be projects. So they'll have some homes. Sometimes like let's say there's 5 homes, and maybe they have one home that's at 80% AMI, and so that one household would have to qualify for that, or whoever's applying. But then there might be a couple other homes that are like 120% AMI and are in that workforce bracket. And then I guess who, like the monitoring agent of that program, so whether it's like DHCD or no longer, that's like
Right. What?
yeah, whatever. So I think it just depends on who the monitoring agent is and if they work with those properties, but they're certainly out there. And Nantucket's a really popular place for those
That's good
brackets.
information. Maybe that's where we need to focus on the workforce, because the gap is so huge that
Right.
I mean, maybe on the assumption we get this habitat build started, maybe that's. I mean, right? That's the next. Is that the next project? Right? We get our down payment
Right.
program in place. We get an affordable, a proper 40B build
Yeah.
underway, and then watch for opportunities to pick up something that could become workforce housing or the seat of workforce housing.
Right. Yeah, and see if we could do those tiers, like if that would be a possibility. I don't know, but yeah, I think workforce housing is kind of the like alley, and I think we talked about it like way in the beginning.
Way in the beginning. I mean, I know we talked about the ladder a bunch.
So
Yeah.
what is it? The property owner?
Yeah, so like the developer or just like, I think it's similar to just like a normal, like a 80% 40B. But there's just different rules around it and incomes. Like, you know how like 55 plus housing, if you have affordable, there's different rules, right? Like the asset limits are higher and, you know, there's different, you know, factors. So I think it's just like that, but I'm sure there's way more to it, but it's out there.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into that some more.
You have your list of things to research is just like, it's spring, you're
Now
getting
if I can
feisty.
figure out what day it is.
Details.
You know.
Details.
Besides 40B, what are other affordable housing programs? Are there is there anything else besides 40B? Is that it?
Well, potentially workforce
indi-
housing exists, but we don't know enough about that. But
right
certainly,
now.
but
We're all learning about that.
we're all
right
learning
now.
about that today. Although I mean, because we certainly heard the words, but I don't have any.
Well, I know it's
idea,
a
but-
newer form
A newer
of the
form
40B
of the 40B.
because the gap has grown so much that
That is going to continue. Yeah.
the regular 40B hasn't. It's gone a little stagnant.
Well,
Yeah, let's see here.
yeah. It
There's
was
a
good
bunch
start.
of projects, like, I just looked it up, affordable apartments, middle income renters. And that's renting rather than buying, but
Yeah.
there's a whole list. And this is on mass housing.
Okay.
So maybe
Cool.
mass
So
housing
maybe
would
there's
be
some more.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that list. I don't know how it translates into ownership, like,
Right.
and what kind of arm twisting would you have to do for a developer to, you know, what are their benefits in doing it?
Right. Yeah.
Is my concern.
Yeah.
Like, how do you attract that?
Well, obviously, if the town contributes the money, right? I mean, certainly, and Habitat clearly has sources of money for the developers they work with.
Mm-hmm.
With the current political climate, it is unclear, right? What happens to those streams of money, right?
I'm gonna ask Carolyn Reed more about workforce.
Yeah. And if they have any ins or whatever. And it's possible that whomever they work with, might be open to working with us directly on a different type of project, right? If they're already in this market.
Yeah, it's springtime.
It is spring, definitely. Like, build stuff. Get out there, build stuff.
Longer daylight hours.
Yeah.
Do a lot for me.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So I'm unclear. Should I ping you about meeting with the lawyers, or
Yeah, if you want to send an email.
we can send an email.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, but I'm thinking
You have 4 other projects now on your plate. This one is least important. Got it.
Well, I think those, I'll
Okay.
be interested to hear what they have to say, but I don't
Yeah.
need to necessarily hear it from them.
Right. Okay. Town meeting update. So we are on the warrant for town meeting. The select board we believe the select board will be presenting this. We are hoping town council will actually write the article itself, being a legal transfer of something of significant value. Lisa and I discussed the idea of, I'd like to have a fact sheet, like for people to pick up on the way in. This is the property we're talking about. This is what we're talking about doing. This is why it's a good thing. This is how we would maintain the historical integrity of the site. Just facts, not marketing per se, but potentially just to short circuit some of the conversation. And people will ask the questions anyway, but we can refer them to the sheet, and
Right.
and everybody will have the numbers in front of them as to how it works. I was going to ask Scott. There are not weird, maybe. There are restrictions on sort of our ability to use like town resources like a copier, right, to print a bunch of things for town meeting, right? And so we just have to sort of check and see what those rules are. So I'll follow up with Scott
Okay.
on that. So that was the, that's town meeting update. I don't have any notes on what those things are. We already approved Lisa's blurb for the,
What we are.
what we are. This is annual town report approval. We have not seen that, have we? The annual no, yes?
I think that's what Lisa sent around. Her description of what we are, what we do, was for the town report.
Oh, she did that like right after the last meeting. Should double, we need to approve that.
I thought it looked good.
Let me find it right quick. I remember reading it. Annual.
I think it was from January 19th. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yep, it would, yeah.
Yep. I have it here.
Oh, there it is, annual report 2020, yes.
And the one page.
Oh, yes, the one pager.
Just kind of describing us. And
Mm-hmm. Right, the affordable, right, and the big things are the down payment program and then the
The
attempted,
habitat,
attempt at an affordable build. Right, because it had the paragraph about the Legion Hall in it, yep. Can I get a motion to approve, did you need a chance
Yeah.
to review it,
No,
or?
it's all good.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion to approve?
Aye. Yep.
Yeah, all in favor? Aye.
Yeah,
I hope no one's like checking us against Robert's Rules of Order, because I can't imagine that
I think
we've
I
got,
motioned.
we've, yeah, that was a motion.
We all agree.
Okay, yeah,
There was motion.
there was motion, right. Is there other, Josephus position,
Oh.
that support position. We did have a note from CMRPC. At the beginning of February, we got a note saying they had posted the position, had been open for about a month, and they did not have any viable candidates so far. Nobody who sort of met the criteria they were looking for. So that's where that is. In another couple weeks, if they don't have anybody, they're gonna come back around and reach out to the towns who are supposedly funding this position, and potentially we can discuss if we actually want something else from them instead, or if we can be more like, meh, we'll just do whatever it was she was supposed to be doing.
I'm not sure what she was.
Well, my understanding was she was supposed to provide support. She was supposed to attend these meetings, do these minutes, know about, have some information about planning, about 40B, or acquire that for us, right? Do all this
Right.
research about workforce housing,
Right.
and work on the website.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of y'all have looked at the website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met with the guy, and he moved over the housing partnership stuff, but it's not marked in any way as no longer existing, and it's at the very top on our list of things. So I don't know what's happening with his work or what. Website is super sad.
Yeah.
It would. I would really like it if maybe we're not looking for the right thing when we really want admin support rather than housing support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it would be great to get somebody.
I agree with that. More admin support than housing support. I think you're right. Someone who can handle a website. It doesn't matter the content really.
Right, and we're just like, please
And-
fix this, and this, and they just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I do feel like particularly once we get the, we want it to actually be a useful resource.
Yeah.
And use it both to sort of advertise our presence and the things we're doing, but also make it clear where people can go, how to apply for this down
Yeah.
payment program,
An
you know,
easy thing.
easy, status updates on
Not
any
a
type of
dead end
affordable build we're
or
doing. Yes, not
just a
a
big
dead end. And,
storybook.
oh, Eloise is on the housing partnership. Let me go talk to her about this or whatever. So,
Yeah,
I think that's
agreed.
but
I
so
think a more generic person in that role, not necessarily, because if, we could ask Metro West for housing information.
right, we're
or
pretty good at
we
Googling
have-
and doing phone calls ourselves.
Exactly,
Yeah.
about the content
Yeah.
itself. But
Yeah.
I know I don't even know what day it is, so I'm not gonna be much
Maybe we
much
get you,
use on a web,
maybe
web
we get you a did admin.
web, what do they call them, master, or I don't know. So
And the platform we are currently on is pretty gross. I'm not a
I
web person.
I was trying to find stuff today, and it's just
Just,
dead end. It's not
and-
there. It goes to. I'm just
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Any other new business, old business?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Awesome.
I'm good. I'm done. I'm tired.
But it's spring. You have all the energy forever. And so as I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Yeah. Second.
It is non-debatable, so the motion we will end this meeting at 6:56.
Awesome.